English learners. Welcome back to Jay and May English Podcast. Today, we're diving into something personal and beautiful, talking about your hometown. I'm May.
And I'm Mr. J. Welcome back, everyone. Great to have you here today.
Mr. J, I have to say, this topic is so close to my heart. Like, every time someone asks me, where are you from? I just freeze.
Wait, really? You freeze? Like a computer with too many apps open?
Exactly like that. My brain just goes blank, and then I say something super boring like, oh, I'm from a small city. That's it. Full stop.
Oh no, that's painful. I've been there too, actually. You know, one time someone asked me to describe my hometown at a party, and I talked for like 20 minutes straight.
20 minutes?
20 minutes. The person just wanted small talk. I gave them a documentary.
Oh no, Mr. J, that's the opposite problem.
Right? So today, we are talking about how to talk about your hometown naturally, confidently, and without either freezing up or accidentally boring someone to sleep.
Yes, and honestly, this is one of the most common topics in English conversations. Job interviews, travel, making new friends. People always ask, where are you from?
Always. It's like question number 2 after what's your name. So if you stay with us today, by the end of this episode, you'll have real phrases, real ideas, and a real way to talk about where you come from in natural, simple English.
So let's get into it. Mr. J, let's start simple. When someone asks, tell me about your hometown, what do they actually want to know?
Great question. So most people aren't asking for a geography lesson. They're not asking for population numbers or the history of the city. They want a feeling. They want to know, what is it like to be there?
Oh, interesting. So it's more about the vibe, right?
Exactly, the vibe. You know, is it busy or peaceful? Is it hot or cold? Is it full of mountains or just flat land everywhere? Those kinds of details paint a picture in someone's mind.
Okay, so like instead of saying my city has 2 million people, I should say something like my city is always buzzing with energy. There's always something happening.
Perfect. That's so much better. See, you just made me want to visit your city. Numbers don't do that. Feelings do.
Okay, I love that. So feelings first, facts second.
Feelings first, always. Think of it like this. Imagine you went to an amazing restaurant. When you tell your friend about it, do you say, the restaurant has 47 tables and opens at 11 a.m.?
No, I'd say, oh my gosh, the food was incredible. The pasta melted in my mouth. You have to go.
Exactly. Same energy, same idea. When you talk about your hometown, make people feel something.
Okay, I love this. So, Mr. J, tell me about your hometown. Show us how it's done.
All right. So I grew up in a mid-sized city. Not too big, not too small. You know those cities where everybody kind of knows everybody?
Oh yeah, like a big village almost.
Yes, exactly like a big village. And the thing I remember most about growing up there was the mornings. Every single morning, my neighborhood smelled like fresh bread because there was this little bakery just 2 streets away.
Oh, that sounds so lovely.
It was. And you know what? I didn't appreciate it when I was young. I just thought, oh, bread smell, normal. But the first time I moved to a big city, I woke up and it smelled like exhaust fumes and stress.
Exhaust fumes and stress. That's so real, Mr. J.
And that's when I thought, wow, my hometown was actually special. I just didn't know it.
Wait, that's kind of deep actually. Like sometimes we don't appreciate where we're from until we leave?
That's it. That's the truth of hometowns. And here's the interesting part. That feeling of, oh, I miss home, is something everyone around the world understands, no matter where you're from.
So when you're talking to someone in English and you share that kind of story, like the bread smell, they're going to connect with you immediately.
Immediately, because they have their own version of that story. Maybe it's the sound of rain on their roof, maybe it's their grandmother's cooking, maybe it's the view from their window. Everyone has something.
Okay, so Mr. J, how do I actually start? Like, if someone asks me, tell me about your hometown, what are the first words out of my mouth?
Good. So you want to open with a strong, simple sentence. Something like, I'm from a small coastal town in the South. Or, I grew up in a really busy city. It never slept. Or even, honestly, my hometown is the kind of place most people haven't heard of, but once you visit, you never forget it.
Ooh, that last one is so good. It makes people curious immediately.
Right? It's a hook. Just like we do at the start of every podcast episode, you want to pull people in, make them want to hear more.
You mean like a mini cliffhanger?
Exactly like a mini cliffhanger. You're not giving everything away in one sentence. You're inviting people into the story.
Okay, I want to try. My hometown is the kind of place where life moves slowly, but in the best way possible.
Hey, that's really good, May. That's really good.
Thank you. Okay, what comes after the opening?
So after your opening line, you want to describe the place itself. And here's a simple trick. Use 3 categories. 1, the geography. 2, the atmosphere. 3, one personal memory.
Oh, that's like a simple structure. Geography, atmosphere, memory.
3 things. That's all you need. You don't have to write an essay. Just 3 things and people will have a full picture.
Okay, so geography is like, is it near the ocean? Is it in the mountains? Is it a big city or a small town?
Perfect. And keep it simple. My hometown is surrounded by rice fields. My city is right next to the ocean. I grew up in the mountains, so in winter, everything was covered in snow.
That last one sounds like a movie.
Right? And that's what you want. You want people to see it, visualize it.
Okay, and then atmosphere, that's the vibe, right? What does it feel like to be there?
Exactly. Is it fast or slow? Is it modern or traditional? Is it loud or quiet? You can use simple words like lively, peaceful, chaotic, cozy, vibrant, sleepy.
Wait, sleepy? Like a town that sleeps?
Not literally sleeping, but a sleepy town means a town where not much happens, very quiet, very slow pace of life.
Oh, like nothing much changes there kind of place.
Exactly. Some people love that. Some people go crazy from it after 2 days.
I think I'd go crazy. I need noise in coffee shops.
And that's totally valid. There's no right or wrong hometown. That's the beauty of it.
Okay, so after atmosphere comes the personal memory, and this is the fun part, right?
This is where you make it real. This is where you stop sounding like a travel brochure and start sounding like a human being. Share one small memory, one moment. It doesn't have to be dramatic.
Like what kind of memory?
Anything. Every Sunday, my family would go to this little market near the river. Or there's this one hill in my town where all the teenagers used to hang out and watch the sunset. Or the best thing about my hometown is this street food that you can only find there. I have never found it anywhere else in the world.
Oh, street food is such a good one because everyone gets excited about food.
Food is universal. If you mention food, everyone leans in.
Okay, so I'm going to put this all together. Let me try the full thing. Ready?
Let's hear it.
Okay. I'm from a mid-sized city in the central region. It's surrounded by rice fields and mountains, so the air is always super clean and fresh. The atmosphere is pretty relaxed. People take their time, nobody rushes. And my favorite memory is this little night market near my house. Every Friday evening, the whole neighborhood would come out. The smell of grilled corn and fried noodles just filled the whole street.
May, that was excellent.
Really?
Honestly, you painted a picture. I could see it. I could smell the grilled corn.
Okay, I'm proud of myself right now.
You should be. And here's what's powerful about what you just did. You used simple words, no complicated vocabulary, no long sentences, but it felt rich and real.
That's the goal, right? Simple but vivid.
Simple but vivid. Write that down, everyone. That's your new motto for English speaking.
I love it. Okay, Mr. J, what about people who think their hometown is boring? Like, oh, nothing special happens there. It's just a normal place.
Ah, this is where things get really interesting. So I have a friend, let's call him Tom. Tom is from a very small village, like maybe 300 people total. No shopping malls, no movie theaters. The biggest event of the year was a local harvest festival.
Okay, that does sound pretty quiet.
Tom always said his hometown was boring. He was almost embarrassed to talk about it. But one day, he described it to a colleague from New York City. And you know what happened?
What happened?
The colleague from New York City was absolutely fascinated. She had never seen a harvest festival in her life. She had never lived somewhere where she knew every single neighbor by name. She had never experienced that kind of community. For her, Tom's boring hometown sounded like paradise.
Oh, wow. So boring is relative.
Completely relative. What feels normal to you can sound extraordinary to someone else. The key is to describe it honestly and with some warmth. Don't apologize for where you're from.
That's actually really good advice. Like, don't say, oh, my hometown is nothing special. Just describe it and let people decide.
Exactly. Let the details do the work. My hometown is a very small village. Everybody knows everybody. During harvest season, the whole community comes together for 3 days of celebrations. That's not boring. That's beautiful.
You know what? I think a lot of English learners feel shy about their hometowns because they think the listener won't know it or won't care.
And that's understandable. But here's the truth. Most people love hearing about places they've never been. It's fascinating. You're not boring them. You're giving them a little window into a world they've never seen.
Like being a tour guide for your own life.
I love that. Yes, you are the tour guide of your own life, and your hometown is the first stop on the tour.
Okay, Mr. J, let's talk about comparing, because sometimes people ask, do you prefer living in your hometown or where you live now?
Oh, yes, that question comes up a lot, especially if you've moved somewhere new. And this is a great chance to show off your English because you get to compare two places.
How do you do that without sounding like you're complaining?
Great point. So the trick is appreciate both places. You don't have to say one is better. You can say what each place gives you. For example, my hometown gave me a sense of community and peace. Where I live now gives me opportunities and excitement.
Oh, so instead of saying, my hometown is better because, or my new city is better because, you talk about what each place offers you?
Exactly. One is not better, they're different, and both have value. That's a very mature, very natural way to speak in English.
What if someone actually doesn't like their hometown, like genuinely had a hard time there?
Then you can be honest, but frame it constructively. Something like, it was a difficult place to grow up in, but it taught me a lot about resilience. Or, it wasn't easy, but those experiences made me who I am today.
So you're not lying, you're just choosing what to highlight.
Choosing the lens, yes. You can be honest without turning a casual conversation into a therapy session.
That's so true. Nobody wants to ask about your hometown and get a 2-hour emotional breakdown.
Exactly. Keep it real, but keep it light. Unless you're talking to a very close friend, then all bets are off.
Okay, I also want to ask, what about when an English speaker mentions their hometown and you want to ask them about it? What are good questions to ask?
Oh, great angle. So listening is just as important as speaking. Good questions to ask someone about their hometown include, what's your favorite thing about growing up there? Or is there something about your hometown that most people don't know? Or what do you miss most about it?
Those are such warm questions. They open people up.
They do, and when you ask good questions, two things happen. One, the other person feels heard and appreciated. Two, you take the pressure off yourself to talk, and you get to listen and learn.
That's such a smart strategy, especially for English learners who get nervous speaking. Just ask a great question and listen.
It's one of the most underused tricks in conversation. People think being good at conversation means talking a lot, but actually, asking good questions and listening well, that's the real skill.
Wow, that's kind of life advice, not just English advice.
Honestly, a lot of English practice is just life practice. Communication is communication, no matter the language.
Okay, I feel like we've covered so much. Let's quickly go into our vocabulary section because we've used some really great phrases today.
Let's do it.
Okay, phrase number 1, buzzing with energy. Mr. J used this earlier. What does it mean exactly?
So, buzzing with energy means a place or even a person that feels very lively and active. Like there's always something happening, always movement, always excitement. Example sentence. The city center is buzzing with energy every weekend. Markets, music, people everywhere.
I love that one. Okay, phrase number 2, sleepy town. We talked about this one.
Right. A sleepy town is a very quiet, slow, small place. Not much activity. Life moves at a very gentle pace. Example, I grew up in a sleepy town where the biggest news of the week was whose dog got loose.
Okay, that example is too real. Phrase number 3, paint a picture. You said this earlier, like make someone see something with your words.
Yes, paint a picture means to describe something so well that the listener can visualize it. Example, when she talked about her hometown, she really painted a picture. I felt like I was there.
Beautiful. Okay, number 4, resilience. This one's a little more advanced. We used it when talking about difficult hometowns.
Resilience means the ability to recover from hard times, to bounce back, to keep going even when things are tough. Example, growing up in a poor neighborhood gave him resilience. He never gives up easily.
Great word. And the last one, number 5, frame it constructively. What does that mean?
So, frame it constructively means to talk about something, even something negative, in a way that's positive or useful. Instead of just complaining, you find the lesson or the value. Example, she didn't love her childhood, but she always framed it constructively. She focused on what she learned, not what she lost.
I think that phrase is useful way beyond English learning, like for life in general.
100%. Okay, so to wrap up, today we talked about how to describe your hometown in natural, confident English. We covered how to open with feeling, not facts, how to use the 3-part structure, geography, atmosphere, memory, how to make any hometown sound interesting, how to compare places without complaining, and how to ask great questions when someone else talks about their hometown.
And we learned 5 really useful phrases: buzzing with energy, sleepy town, paint a picture, resilience, and frame it constructively.
The big takeaway for today is this: your hometown is part of your story, and your story is worth telling. Don't rush through it, don't apologize for it, just describe it with warmth and let people in.
I love that so much. Okay, here's our question for you today, English learners. What is one thing about your hometown that you think most people would find surprising or beautiful?
Drop your answer in the comments. We genuinely love reading them. And if you've been enjoying the podcast, please subscribe so you never miss a daily episode.
We're here every single day with new topics, new phrases, and new ways to help your English grow. Thank you so much for spending this time with us today.
It means the world to us. Take care, keep practicing, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, English learners.
See you next time.